Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. Gillian Robertson versus Piera Rodriguez. Gillian Robertson is the female Jeremy Horn. I describe her that way every time. And Piera Rodriguez is a girl who I've once described as the female John Lineker, which I don't know how great of an assessment that was. But either way, I think when everything's firing on all cylinders and she's fighting her fight, she can fight that John Lineker fight. I pretty much wrote that down initially because I saw her fighting on the Contender Series. She sits down on her punches and she stalks, and that's very John Lineker-esque. Also, she doesn't move too fast. But she's got a very pretty record. 2-0 in the UFC, Piera. She's beaten Kay Hansen and Sam Hughes, both by decision. And she looked good in both fights. Fell off a little bit in round 3 against Sam Hughes. Once Sam got up, Sam was beating her up on the feet, I thought. But that's Sam Hughes, who, as she proved again last week, she's a fucking big problem in round 3. Kay Hansen, though, she's out of the UFC, so that win, I guess, hasn't aged too well. But that was a good debut for Piera. And outside the UFC, she beat the girl Valessa Macedo on the Contender Series. I thought that she was impressive in that fight because she had a good third round after I thought she was going to fade. I thought she wasn't able to hit takedowns after round 2, and she did. And her one other win of note outside the UFC comes to Svetlana Gotzik, who's this Swedish fighter, I think, or whatever, but a solid fighter over there in Europe with a good resume, and Piera got her out of there in round 5, which the bigger takeaway might be that she was in round 5. She fought a 5-rounder. But anyway, perfect record as of now. 5 TKO victories, 4 decisions. And she's definitely, she's got a lot of upside. Gillian Robertson, we know her. She's 11-7. I don't even know what her UFC record is, but that's where the majority, if not all of her losses come from. She's lost to Macy Barber by TKO, Mayra Buena Silva by submission, and then the rest are all decisions. The Tyler Santos, Miranda Maverick, J.J. Aldrich, Hannah Goldie, which I didn't see, and Courtney Casey. And, I think with Gillian Robertson, she's got to win the wrestling battle to win the fight. I feel like I've said that pretty much for every one of her fights. And I feel like that's the case here. And she could win the wrestling battle. I think she's going to have a lot more. She's going to be able to get her shots off better. I don't know whether she can finish them or not, but I think with Piera Rodriguez always having a heavy foot planted, or she's always planting her feet slower and plodding and whatever, and wanting to get caught up against the cage, I think Gillian Robertson will have opportunities for great entries, which might help her win this fight because she's a very technical fighter. Very little is done with raw power. Everything's technique with Gillian. And if Gillian gets on top, that's where she works her magic. That's why I call her Jeremy Horn. It's not because she's slick off her back, which both of them are, but Gillian is a methodical mounter and guard passer and rear naked choke artist, and she just looks really slick on top. But it's especially that mount. And that's what reminds me of Jeremy Horn more than anything. But anyway, can she get that done? Against Piera Rodriguez, she's going to have to get her down a few times. And Piera, even though I've only seen a few of her fights, I've only seen her kind of fade once, and it was to Sam Hughes. And I'm picking Piera to win this fight. I think Piera's going to stuff Gillian Robertson's takedowns, suck her into that clinch battle, and beat her up with physicality, and maybe even take her down, which, Gillian Robertson is a game fighter. She'll survive, I think, anywhere. But I think if she's getting out muscle, generally she's losing the fight. And that's what I'm expecting here. I think Piera is going to win this fight. I think she's going to win it by decision. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Gillian Robertson won by decision because technique can beat, power or strength. And Gillian definitely has a lot of technique on her side here. But Piera, I'm just trusting that she's going to be able to keep this in her realm, which is on the feet and where she's bullying Gillian, either in the clinch or on top. And if they do get caught up on the feet where, Gillian's takedowns are failing her and Piera wants to keep the fight at range rather than in the clinch, I think Piera will take over that fight. I think she will. I don't know if Gillian Robertson is the type to let herself get cornered. It only happened once against Macy Barber. But Piera Rodriguez sits down on her strike. She's the much harder puncher, and she doesn't seem to get phased, really. So, and not that Gillian Robertson has much to phase her. But I think Gillian would absolutely be losing the stand-up battle. So with all that, I'm expecting Piera to win, and I'm picking her to win. I've bet on her money line even and her decision line at plus 150 because I do think that's her primary path to victory. But of course, the money line goes in parlays. So there's that. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.